New Age Travellers, A History, 1960 to 1990. Chapter 1, Foundations. Drugs. By the late 1960s, LSD had moved from government labs and psych wards into squat kitchens and festival fields. It became associated not with therapy, but with sedition, rebellion and teenage runaways. It stopped folk accepting wars. In 1966, the US made LSD illegal. Britain followed in 1967 under the Dangerous Drugs Act, pushing it underground and into the tabloids. Hash drifted in from Lebanon, Morocco, Afghanistan, often carried back in guitars, rucksacks or taped to the torsos of long-haired tourists. The quality varied, but the ritual was shared: brass pipes, Rizzlers, hot knives. Psilocybin mushrooms grew wild in Wales, Dorset and Lancashire, picked by barefoot kids and down with cider. At their best, they offered insight and awe. At their worst, they sent people barefoot into the traffic. Then in 1971, the misuse of drugs acts dropped like a steel trap. LSD, hash, mushrooms, speed. Suddenly it was all Class A or B. The law lumped psychedelics in with heroin and coke. Possession could mean years inside. Supply could ruin your life. The Act also gave police greater stop and search powers, used disproportionately against young black men and visible subcultures: punks, hippies, rastas, skinheads. Squats were raided, kids were nicked for a spliff and stuck with records. Trust evaporated. Still, the flow didn't stop. It just got riskier, dirtier, and more underground. The drug scene shifted too. Alongside hash and acid came the forgotten arsenal of the British pharmaceutical industry. The pills that were meant to soothe, regulate and sedate a society under strain. These weren't street drugs at first, they were prescriptions, factory-made tranquility. Tunal, a barbiturate, was originally prescribed for sleep disorders, insomnia, anxiety, wartime shell shock. Valium, diazepam, was a mother's helper, handed out like sweets to women overwhelmed by domestic life, depression or simply the weight of expectation. Mogadon, Librium, temazepam, all designed to take the edge off in a society that refused to admit it was creaking. And then there were the stimulants, amphetamines, marketed under brand names like Dexedrine, Obertrol, and in Britain, Black Bombers, were used medicinally for obesity, narcolepsy, and even mild depression. Students took them to revise. Factory workers took them to stay awake. Postmen, cabbies, housewives, DJs. Everyone had a reason. Eventually, so did kids in squats and clubs. These pills flowed out of chemists, hospital skips, family medicine cabinets, and into DIY culture. They weren't bought from dealers. They were lifted from drawers, swapped in hostels, sold outside chip shops. For kids with no access to therapy, no mental health support, no stability, these drugs were medicine and escape all at once. Some people managed it, balancing the come down with weed or sleep. Others fell into the spiral. Dependency crept in like mould. Regular use blurred into necessity. The trips got darker. By the late 1970s, heroin slunk into the picture. Not the wild hallucinations of acid, but a blank silence. Users didn't dance, they disappeared. Whole squats went quiet. Some never came back. Across the Atlantic, things were mirroring and magnifying. The US counterculture had its own pharmacopoeia: quaaludes, barbs, benzos, cough syrup, speed, and eventually the full tidal weight of crack and heroin that would drown cities like New York and Detroit. The dream of the 1960s collapsed into burnt spoons and broken trusts. Dixon had declared a war on drugs in 1971, and with it came mass arrests, racial targeting, and the militarisation of drug policy. The UK watched and learned, often importing the same tactics. Years later, what had started as the expansion of consciousness ended, for some in numbness. The revolution met the pharmacy shelf and didn't always walk out the other side.